Is it true? I read this on a CDC report that South End is not affected by COVID. COVID has actually jumped over South End. There's an invisible barrier around it, then COVID just can't get into it. That's the only explanation that I have. So South End versus the coronavirus epidemic. Go.
I think that if you were to go out on a nice Saturday night over the last couple of weeks, it would very much seem like coronavirus has skipped over South End. And I don't know what it is. I mean, it's probably a lack of caring from a demographic group that just feels either, I don't know, A, invincible, or B, that it won't affect them until it does. I mean, there's plenty of people that are taking it seriously, and there's plenty of venues that are taking it seriously. And there's also plenty of venues that need the revenue stream so they don't wind up one of the businesses that get shut down. But yeah, I mean, I live in South End, so there's definitely plenty of nights, weekends or even weekdays, where you can just walk down Camden, walk in the Church Street area, and it seems like it doesn't even exist, which, again, is good and bad. It's good to see businesses thriving as well as they can, but then it's also sad to see just a few blocks down in Uptown is totally impacted, where South End doesn't seem to be impacted at all from a purely optics level.
Yeah, and I've looked at some of the sales figures. I don't have access to all the sales figures, but some of the ones that I've gotten are pretty telling. I mean, people are still doing business in South End. And I think you touched on one of the main reasons. It's certainly demographic based. I mean, if you go to South Park, the median age is 10, 15 years north of where it is in South End, and the restaurants seem to be much more affected there. So I think that the invincibility of kind of that millennial-ish age demographic, they know they can get it, but they also know they're probably not going to die of it. And, they're just willing to take that risk. And you're seeing it on college campuses. And I think this is the logical extension for that. I also think obviously South End is the prettiest girl to dance right now. It's got all the hot restaurants. For sure. And so if people are going to go out and take that risk, it makes sense that they're going to South End. What I think is going to be fascinating is the amount of office that is delivering in South End. There's still a lot of momentum behind that office. Obviously Spectrum they're building that second tower. So I think
an office that's coming.
Right. Lots of office that is announced and coming. So I'd say that this coronavirus versus South End, we're still in kind of the early innings. But if I'm betting on any area in Charlotte or in North Carolina, really, I would bet on South End. I think that's the area that is gonna be a net winner. I think one tangent, something else to keep an eye on, will be a little bit more suburban, things that can stay one story. Those kind of redeveloped warehouse type buildings that you don't have to go in to get in an elevator. Maybe will even help to kind of expand that South End footprint, because obviously South End runs right along that light rail is kind of a spine. So I think that there's going to be some other really interesting kind of single story, less dense office that's going to come from this.
Yeah, I think that you're seeing that now. I for the life of me, I don't want to. I could pull up Google Maps, but I believe it's on Rampart. But there's that one office project that's going on in the area. I think in the Donovan area.
Oh yeah,
but
Donovan is blowing up. I think Donovan is a huge ceiling.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like adaptive reuse, single story office space where you don't need to get into an elevator, because I think that's a huge problem with the towers uptown. Is if you how long is it going to take you to fill a 40-story building when you're limiting elevator use? So it as opposed to one story, we can just walk in. So I certainly think that has a huge impact. And even a 12-story building is easier than 40, 50 uptown.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you for always taking time. This is a lot of fun. We're going to try to keep doing these consistently. Please drop us a comment if you have an idea that you'd like us to discuss or even argue about, because we're looking for other things that really matter to people in Charlotte and the urban core. And thanks for taking time as always, buddy.